Is this what we are? Is this what we are? As we are imperfect.
There is much left to discover about the human mind, Heinrich. Soon we will ascend, and then we will know the answers.
Will we?
We will know the answers.
The answers
Oh, yes.
of all life is 42.
All life. The answer to all life
is 42.
All matter and every way of being in the universe is dun, 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 dun.
42.
42.
42.
42?
What? What do you mean 42?
Well, it's simple. I did the calculation. It's 42. That killed me when for the first time I ever saw Tiger's Guide to the Galaxy. I was like, no.
No. That's gonna break your brain.
It's more civilization.
The entire thing.
After all this
time. Go. 42. It's simple. The answer is 42.
Austin Powers is the man. Excellent. I have coffee. And you I both just smoked cannabis.
Yeah, we just smoked some cannabis.
Okay. So it almost seems like we're ready for a show called
Coffee and Cannabis.
Coffee and Cannabis.
And Cannabis.
It was on time on my end. This is the problem.
It was totally fine. I said coffee and cannabis, and then you said coffee and cannabis, and then I said and cannabis just to piss you off. But throw that extra dig in you. But but the problem is we're not in the same room. And that's terrible, and I don't like it. I don't know how long we're going to be able to do this for, but I'm hoping
as long as it takes.
Yeah, well, it's true, as long as it takes. But I'm hoping we can get back in the same room eventually, like in the next couple of weeks. I think we could do this for now. Well, the numbers are nuts, and I don't like that. I don't want to. And after the COVID scare we just kind of went through, no, thank you. Don't want to go through that again.
It would be irresponsible, as many would say.
Very much so. But this is fine. I mean, we're on the moon. We are as far away
we went to great lengths.
Yeah, to make sure that we will not spread the COVID-19 disease. We went to the moon to give you guys our updates on, ourselves, coffee and cannabis.
I love that, though. You're just like the disease.
The disease.
The disease. Sorry. Yeah. Here to give updates on, our lives and, writing projects that we're working on. And also just what the heck we've been up to while stuff's been hitting the fan out in the world.
How have you been, Austin?
That is an excellent question, Clint. I have actually been doing pretty good. I started a new Twitch show, the Afrotastic Show, and I'm hoping to have you on as a guest host, and I'm hoping to have different guest hosts and then just play different video games. Mm-hmm. Probably looking thematically at games about biracial characters at first, and also just POC in general, and choice-based games, and also kind of open world fun stuff like Mafia 3, because I can't get away from my GTA inspired roots. So
well, that's very true. That's very true, because I've done the same thing. I started midlife back up. I did that a little bit before on the Midnight Dreamscapes here, if you go back and check that out. Well, I was playing some Overwatch and a little bit of Spider-Man there, but I want to go back into the idea of like vlogging and giving up updates about my daily life and my adventure throughout a new process this new process that I'm going into, like the creative project, that, if you will, is going to be encompassing a lot of my time in my life over the next 4 months. And, you know, I think midlife will probably is going to encompass a lot of that, because my life is surrounded by horror and video games and being a father and being a talk show host and a weed smoker and all those things in between. So right. Twitch TV is where it's at, I think.
Definitely.
Yeah.
You got to hit up Twitch, people, if you haven't. It's a really interesting platform that is growingly versatile. Oh, that thing's so heavy.
That thing's so heavy. The Daily Special.
The Daily Special, folks. Read it and weep. And it's beautifully large. It's the size of a man hand.
How much did that cost you?
$375. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah.
That's actually... yeah, sorry.
That's actually not bad. No. I think it was like $80.
Yeah, those are more of like that's what I like about the Daily. It's a down their scale kind of pod. It gets you high. It's a good smooth high, right?
It is. Yeah, nice Sativa. I'm finding it very nice. It is. It's a big old bottle of Sativa, and you know, she got 150.3 milligrams. That's 15% of your daily THC, folks, and at least 0% of your CBD. So yeah. I'm floating on the moon.
You're on the moon.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is this Daily Sativa. I like those. I like that one. It's not a bad high.
But what are you smoking? What are you smoking, my friend? Yes.
Well, I just picked up some Jean Guy. Some John Guy. Some
John Guy.
Some Jean Guy.
Oh my god.
Je m'appelle Jean Guy. I just picked him up. Yeah.
His face better appear right here. I want it. Give me my boy. What have you done to my poor sweet boy? Yeah.
I'll pass it to you.
Thank you.
On the moon.
Smoke me your Jean Guy, please. Yeah. Sorry.
No, it's okay. Just needed a Sativa this week. It was one of those things that you just kind of like, okay, I've been smoking a lot of indica. It's making me really tired and unmotivated, and I need some motivation to get through some more of the projects that I currently doing, some more of the writing that I'm doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's totally fair. I mean,
it's a nice leveler too. That's what I like about a good Sativa, because it is that like we talked about last week about a good Sativa, the difference between Sativa and indica, and what I really like about the Jean Guy is that it's a nice fluffy flower, so it's easy to bust. It's easy to kind of like push together, and you get those crystals into like because you definitely want to get a bud buster. Like if anybody's like an avid smoker, this is probably one of your biggest tools, your best tools. I need to get a bigger one. Yeah. So because you want to collect all those crystals at the bottom, right? Exactly. And
having a 3-tiered one is definitely like your best pal, because I mean, in times of crisis, a crystal indeed. A person in
go
need.
A long way.
There's a saying in there somewhere, and I'm too stoned to find it. But the point is, crystal is important. Yeah, it goes a long way. So.
Just like any kind of coffee you drink, though, you want a good grinder.
Yes, so, that's also true.
Speaking of. Bank of Nigeria.
Yeah. This is $100 bills. $100 bills. What am I? Okay, you gotta cut that. Never mind. I was gonna do a bit, but it's gone. The daily grind. What am I writing? What are you writing?
What am I writing? I've been writing. Well, I've been writing a blog post. Oh, so many. I started my creative project, started writing a little bit of a scene involving my two main characters, Sam and Alex. He just came out of a daze. I keep thinking it's like Sam because Sam's such a nice gender neutral like name, so we refer to them as he and she's. They're non-binary. That's why they're non-binary character. He is a non-binary character. There's a he and she is. It doesn't really matter, but maybe it's gonna be they and them. I gotta get used to that kind of terminology. In my writing, it comes off. I always go there or they in my writing, but in my head, when I speak it out loud, it's always still dual, right? It's always still like he and she.
Right.
Do you have a problem with that? Like, do you ever like?
I was like, that's very relatable.
Yeah.
I think that's very relatable, and because when I started the Gaia prophecy, for example, and this still holds true. Lucifer and Emmanuel were kind of the, well, Emmanuel is definitely the antagonist, I guess, if there is one, and Lucifer is a character.
Yeah.
But they're both very important and equally as powerful. And I thought because they're these primordial beings that existed before the universe even existed, even though they're kind of yin and yang.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a binary in a sense. There are also the gender would not matter to them. Gender would be
It'd be like, whatever. What's that?
literally. They know it's a construct and they recognize it's a spectrum, so they don't display gender in any sort of binary sense. Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. I like that. I love that. And that's it's a nice goal to kind of strive towards in sort of like there's nothing wrong with having like a defined gender either and then in an opposite sense. I mean, like having a defined gender is this is who you are, this is your identity, and you should be proud of who you are.
You're allowed to have a gender. Don't make that
don't make that assumption that everybody just should have no and be no or be genderless. It's the fact that when we talk about gender, it's the ways we use gender to justify power and having power over others. So that is the wrong thing. That's wrong.
You don't recognizing that
and being able
as a sorry.
No, you go.
I was just going to say recognizing that gender as a construct is what leads to these harmful categorizations and harmful it leads to that kind of problem.
that kind of problem. We got and problems are all over the place. I mean, a lot of the problems, and that's just problems in writing in general. Like we see that in literature all the time. We see that gets complicated, like things like the anti-hero and how the anti-hero has complicated our structures of good versus evil.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. This complication, I think is what, but I think that's also a draw in a lot of ways, and that's why because it's more realistic.
Mm-hmm.
It's more realistic, just like it's more realistic to have characters that are non-binary or characters that like on the other hand, you have to avoid tokenism and you have to be true to
for sure
those characters' essence. So that's why it's always interesting, for example, with like anti-heroes, right? But it's because that's a lived experience.
Oh, big time.
In some ways, like obviously things are exaggerated, but on the other hand, there are people who have lost their families. There are, and who have
had to do certain things,
or have just had to do certain things.
My question for you, and this is probably a pretty easy question, and it's a pretty obvious question, is when I think of an anti-hero, when we throw around that term, we usually think of people like Deadpool and people like the Punisher, for instance.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the heroism of Wolverine as a character?
Wolverine is a character who definitely is more of an anti-hero, I think.
Definitely, but I think has been glorified as a hero.
Oh yeah,
over time. I mean, Jackman's character, for instance, is very heroic and very doesn't often draw that anti-heroic line. I mean, they really the very first X-Men movie when they introduced him, it was like, he's a hero. He's a badass, but he's a hero.
Yeah. I just feel like he kills too many people.
Well, in the comic books, for sure. And that's the character. Well,
the X-Men, though, in the comic books face a lot of aliens and otherworldly dimensional creatures, though, so they kind of get away with it that way too.
Well, that's how you get away with it, I think. Yeah, comic books could do that. You can add that kind of element in there to disguise it, but we've done that in literature forever. We've done that by in othering, like because this week one of the grind things that I've been writing about is Beowulf, and one of the things that are just are masked in that is the monsters, is Grendel and Grendel's mother and the dragon, which are basically representations of any invading force at the time.
Yeah. No, then that's true, right? It's just a big metaphor.
Huge metaphor. And then you have this heroic character in Beowulf that's very much, I honestly, I would call him an anti-hero. I wouldn't call him this big, epic, heroic person. His deeds are too selfish. Like, his deeds are, like, for power and glory. And are they so much for people? I mean, he was a good king. Like, I'll put that, because there wasn't enough to fill in the idea that it was a good king. But if your people are going into the dragon's nest, into the mountain to steal from the dragon, from this enemy, then there's probably something going on in your kingdom that's unrestful.
No doubt. I don't know. Like, I think, like, do you think when it comes to anti-heroes, then there's this that element of selfishness? Because I look at other anti-heroes, right? I mean, you mentioned Deadpool at the beginning, and I mean, yes, on the one side, he's a fourth wall breaking, humorous, yada yada.
Yeah.
He also does it for money. Generally, he's a
mercenary. Yeah, kills people for money. That's the whole point of his character. It's selfish. It's for personal gain, glory, and power.
Walter White has been seen as an anti-hero by some people. Michael Corleone. Those are two examples, and I mean, like, there's also this element of the criminal, and what we as people are willing to turn a blind eye to, because we know someone, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Isn't that
an interesting question? Yeah.
It's a very interesting question. It's like, how far are we willing to suspend our disbelief to sympathize with a morally wrong character? And it goes so far. Like, you won't, like, when you look at somebody like even Peter Quill, to throw in more comic book references. You love this character, but even he is, he steals things for money. Right? Rips people off. He's not, that we can sympathize, because stealing, we can go so far as everybody steals, right? In some sort of way, shape, or form. Stealing, there is levels of stealing that are justifiable in these days, especially these days. Where murder, how do you justify murder and sympathize with a person that murders and kills? Like, how does Deadpool get away with it?
Right.
By
because
being funny?
He's funny.
Is he gonna make you laugh? It's like, okay, I can forgive you for that, because you know what? It's a cartoon. It's a cartoon.
I feel like the anti-hero complicates the notion of horror. You know what I mean? Character restricts the line. Vampires, yes, that's a good example of the horror anti-hero. Yeah,
because vampires, you cannot define a vampire. Vampires are not an easily placeable category. Speaking of gender, they're androgynous. Vampires always tote that line of androgyny. They are the other. They are everything, the embodiment of everything that's anti-social in a sense that is like against social norms, right? The drinking of blood. And why we gravitate towards that is because maybe we for a lot of people, like Interview with a Vampire struck us a huge accord with the depiction of an alternative family relationship of, you know, the two male characters engaging in a family.
You should watch. Sorry. Well, you could watch it, but you should also read the All Souls trilogy by Deborah Harkness.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good depiction of witches and vampires, also and demons as anti-heroic characters in many ways, I'd say.
We're not done yet.
We're not done here.
Not at all.
You thought we were leaving, didn't you?
If you liked our content here, you should probably click one of these buttons.
Please, right around here.
Right about.
Wait, is it like
something right here? There's a subscribe button. That's where you want the subscribe button. Then you got two other videos, which would one of these videos was a playlist, Coffee and Cannabis playlist, and then there's also somewhere around.
Like we peppered it in here.
You know what more?
It's got some lovely gravy to put on the roses. What?
You really like it?
If you're,
oh baby.
Yeah. This happens every week. It's fine.